Bienvenue à Paris. I cannot think of a better spot to do an in-depth review of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Instead of doing the video behind a desk, I'm going to visit Paris and then go to Zermatt and Chamonix and film the whole trip using the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. My goal is to answer one question: is this the best camera in 2024 for vlogging, traveling, family stuff, and just in general as a small pocket-sized camera? Let's get started by rolling the intro. For those of you who know this channel, I'm Bellemare-Alford, a young photographer and filmmaker on a journey to become better at this art. The first thing I want to talk about is just how small this DJI Osmo Pocket camera is. As the name implies, it can easily fit inside of a pocket, and this is very impressive because most of the times when a camera is this small, it actually lacks a lot of features. This is not the case with this camera, where it actually has most of the features you're looking for a camera, but also has excellent image quality, which is really impressive. Now let's talk about one of my favorite things about the DJI Osmo Pocket, and it's just how easy it is to use. Simply flick the screen to turn on and off the camera, and then you can use the joystick to turn around the gimbal and use the record button to start and stop recording. Both of these buttons also have some hidden features, so if you double click on the joystick, it's going to recenter the camera, and if you triple click, it's going to turn it around front and back. And then the record button, if you press it long, it's going to either open or close the camera. Then if you go inside of the menus, they're actually super simple to use, and if you use the advanced settings, you can set the features and kind of forget about them afterwards. But what makes all of this even better are the new custom image profile. So now you can set some settings that you want to use all the time. So for example, for vlogging, I like using 4K 24 frames per second, but then if I do slow-mo, I might use 4K 124 frames per second or 4K 60 frames per second. I have all of these saved inside of custom profiles, so now when I switch modes, I can simply switch between them super fast. So it makes it even easier using the DJI Osmo Pocket. So that's why I love it so much, because it's super quick to get a shot when you need it, when you're traveling, vlogging, filming family, or anything like that. The last 2 days went by so fast. We're here at the Eiffel Tower for our last sunset. There might not be any actual sunset right here, but it's still a beautiful place to be inside of Paris. There's two features that I usually don't really use when filming my videos, but that were super useful when filming some travel videos using the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. The first one is excellent slow motion video. So usually inside of a slow motion video, including on my Sony a7 IV, there's a bunch of limitations around it. Here you can film 4K at 120 frames per second with no crop, which is already really great. But better than that is that it also supports autofocus, which most cameras don't when filming 120 frames per second. But that's not it. It even supports some D-Log at 10-bit, which is amazing for being able to color grade afterwards. So this makes it a really powerful camera and allows you to get super high quality video when filming some slow motion video. This is great for some B-roll shots because it allows you to get these smoother shots where you don't get the bounce when moving around with the camera. So really great feature of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Before I forget it, another really great thing about the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and slow motion is that it's such a small camera that you can easily fit it wherever you want to take some slow motion shots. You can fit it through some trees or things like that to get more interesting shots. It's also super lightweight, so it's easy to bring up, down, right, left to really get these dynamic shots that are super important when filming a travel video. The second thing that I realized that's super useful on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 when doing some travel videos is the digital zoom. Usually I'm really against digital zoom because it's basically just cropping the image, but on this camera one of the biggest downsides is actually that there's no physical zoom where you can zoom in to get some tighter shots. The 20mm lens is actually quite wide, so it makes it sometimes too wide to get some details, especially in a city like Paris. You want to get a lot of the details of the different attractions around the city. So here having a 2x digital zoom is really useful. So you can simply come here, zoom in, get out. It's not perfect, it's still a crop, so the video is not quite as good as the full resolution, but still really useful to have inside of this camera when filming some travel videos. One of the little limitations I forgot to give about the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 digital zoom is that it only works in the main video mode. It doesn't work in slow motion or some of the other modes inside of the camera. Something crazy just happened with my DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and it's that I had a chocolate in my pocket, a Lindt chocolate, and it completely melted around the gimbal. So when I tried opening it this morning, it wouldn't open because there was chocolate inside of the gimbal, which is kind of crazy. I kind of wiped it off as much as possible using a Kleenex, but I'm definitely have to do a better job of it later today to remove completely all the chocolate inside of it. This is one issue I really didn't expect to have with DJI Osmo Pocket, but still something that could happen. And I have to see that right now it's still working perfectly fine. So hopefully we can still go around, still use it for the rest of the trip, and it won't cause any more issues because of chocolate inside of it. While I head up to the old town of Geneva, I wanted to talk about the next amazing feature of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. And this is the amazing autofocus. So one of the things I don't want to do when I'm filming some family videos, some travel videos, or some vlogging shots is to think about, is my shot in focus or not? I just want it to work. I don't want to have the stress of thinking about, should I be pulling this focus manually? Should I be putting the focus here or there? This is just things I don't want to think about. And the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 really delivers on this aspect. I would say that 99% of my shots, there's no focus issues at all. I even think sometimes the focus is better on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 than on my Sony camera, which is really impressive. And this is another reason why I can really trust this little camera for some vlogging shots, for some traveling, or for some family videos. While I head back towards the train station, I want to talk about another very important thing. Hello, it's future me right now inside of this video. I kind of messed up when filming this part of the video because by accident I was filming when I thought I wasn't, and I wasn't filming when I thought I was. So lesson learned, I'm gonna leave the beep sounds on to make sure I don't do this mistake again inside of this video. What I was saying is that a lot of people think about the image quality of the camera but don't really think about the sound. But you can get away with a video that doesn't look that good, but you cannot get away with a video that doesn't have great sound on it. You're really in luck with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 because it has 3 microphones built inside of it, and it can get 360-degree audio from the camera. We can also select inside of the menu if you want to have only the front-facing microphone, the microphone in the back, all around, so you can really tune it to get exactly the type of sound that you want. But let's say you're like me and you love vlogging and you don't want to have the annoying sound of the environment around you. Well, DJI has thought about that too. Comes inside the DJI Osmo Pocket 2 mic. Simply powered it on, and now I should have really good audio coming from the mic. The wireless microphone works up to 250 meters away from the camera, so I really wouldn't see a condition where it wouldn't work for you. What is even better is that this microphone can record in 32-bit float. This basically means that you're gonna have a lot more information inside of your file, so even if you start shouting inside of the microphone, it will still work and you can recover that afterwards. It also supports dual recording, so right now there's some sound that's recorded on the camera and there's also the sound that's recorded on the microphone. This is a unique feature that most cameras don't have at all, and this can be useful if you need some environmental sounds but also want to get the good audio from the wireless microphone. It also has really good noise reduction, and with a situation like here where there's some things passing around, this is very important when you're vlogging and want to make sure you have good audio quality. The microphone also features a nice little clip, so I can simply come here, clip it on my closed and it stays like that. But you can also use in the back right here. There's a nice little magnet that you can take off and put back on, and it works through clothes, so that's another way of attaching it on pretty much any type of clothing you have. There's also more options on this wireless microphone. So first of all, you can use the record button here to record using only the microphone, so you don't have to have the camera working for the audio to be recorded. But then on the side here, you can use the link button to start and stop recording on the camera, and finally the power button to turn it on and off. So there's a bunch of little features that are really handy with this little wireless microphone. I really don't know if you hear anything right now. There's full of wind in the camera, but I decided to test the wearable mode. So basically I can enable a mode on the camera where it's gonna act as an action sport camera, so like a GoPro or something like that. So I can put it on my bag right here, and it should stabilize it and keep it centered all along down. It used to be a little bit tricky to use it as a GoPro because it would go around and the gimbal would always be adjusting for other stuff. So I'm really too curious to see if this wearable mode actually works or not on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. The DJI Osmo Pocket cameras never really had excellent battery life, but it's really improved on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Now at around 1 or 2 p.m. when I go for a lunch, I can get about 40 to 60% of battery, which is pretty good because I've been filming 4K 24 frames per second, 4K 120, 4K 60 frames per second for almost an hour of footage pretty much every single day since the start of this trip. But once at my lunch, it's actually not a problem at all to have to charge it using an external battery pack because it takes about 16 minutes to bring it back to 80%, and even most of the times by the end of the lunch my battery is completely charged, which is amazing because then I can continue filming and I always have enough battery to last for the rest of the day. In the rare conditions where I don't actually have enough batteries left during the afternoon, I can actually use the external battery from the Creator Combo Kit to add another 60% of battery to the camera. So overall, up to now, I had no issues with the camera missing some batteries like I had all the time with the older models of the DJI Osmo Pocket cameras. If you've been enjoying the content up to now, please let me know by smashing that like button below, and also subscribe to the channel for more content on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I love this camera. I'm definitely going to be doing some more content about it. Realized one issue, and it's that I broke a ring on my good lens here from my Tamron lens 28-200. This is actually a good test for the project showcase of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. So now if I just bring this closer, instead of staying on focus on my face like it would normally would, it focuses on the product. If I bring it back, it disappears. Again, if I bring it back here, it should show you the nice break inside of my lens here, and it's done. I think that one thing that most of us take for granted these days on our cell phone and action cameras is excellent stabilization. We don't realize how much happens in the background where they usually take a much wider shot, then crop in afterwards to remove the jitter from the shots. The issue with that is that they have to use higher shutter speeds and also some higher frame rates to get the best results possible. Most of the times if you want to get a more cinematic shot, which is a better looking shot, you probably don't want to have those settings when using it. So this is where the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is awesome because it offers really good stabilization with a physical manner. This is because it's an actual gimbal that moves around to keep the shot stable. Based on my test, it's really good. You might not see how much I'm moving right now and how much jitter there is inside of the camera, but it does a perfect job of stabilizing me. With the addition of the active track on my face right now, it actually can keep me centered even if I'm moving around non-stop. So I think this is a huge plus of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, is that it has really good stabilization in a tiny package. No, it's not perfect. I know some people are going to tell me, yes, but when you walk, you get a little bit of this up and down motion. But this is because when you're walking, you're actually moving up and down, and that's impossible for the gimbal to completely remove it. Another little cool thing I realized when reviewing the footage this morning is actually that this camera with the microphone here that I have on me is actually really good when there's a lot of wind. I was expecting some of my footage to be unusable because there was too much wind, but I think the noise reduction plus the wireless microphone works really well to make sure that we can hear whatever people are saying inside of it. Good morning. I'm on my way to a super popular photography spot. While I'm getting here, I want to talk about one pretty impressive thing with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and its low light capability. Is it as good as a big camera? No, definitely not. But I think you can get some really good results with really low lighting. Like right now, where there's basically only straight lighting. This wasn't the case in the past with the previous DJI Osmo Pockets, but the bigger sensor here really allows us to get better results. In my opinion, I also think that using the normal mode with D-Log gives better results than using the dedicated low light mode. But I want to know what you think. How is it looking? Is it looking at the background here? Is it a total mess of noise? I don't really know right now, but based on what I've seen previously, it should still look pretty good. At least it's definitely usable footage when you're vlogging, if you're getting some family footage, or things like that. While I'm going back down, I want to talk about the Hyperlapse, Motionlapse, and Timelapse features of the DJI Osmo Pocket camera, because I think these are some amazing features of the DJI Osmo Pocket series of camera. This is because they allow to get some totally different shots that most people won't get normally. These are pretty common features on most cell phones or action cameras, so hyperlapses, time-lapses are pretty common, but what really sets this apart is that you can use the gimbal to get some more unique shots. My favorite mode is the motion lapse, where you can turn the gimbal from a point A to a point B, or up to 4 points if you use the app on their phone, to get a really unique shot that nobody else can really get without using some very expensive and complex equipment to use using a bigger camera. So this is a really nice feature that can really allow you to get some shots that are going to stand apart from other ones. Another amazing feature about the time-lapse and motion-lapse features of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 are that they allow you to get some raw pictures. So if you don't like the video that's outputted, you can always use the raw pictures and go edit them in your software to get some even better results. I got a little distracted by the beautiful view and pretty steep stairs I was going down, but I would say that the time-lapse and motion-lapse features are not perfect. The biggest issue that I have with them is that you cannot get some longer shutter speeds with them. I did try using the auto setting that should allow to get some longer shutter speeds, but this is a little bit of a hack to get some better results. I would love DJI to allow us to get some 10 seconds, 30-second shutter speeds using the camera. This would be especially useful if you're taking some stars at night. I have a full video talking about this issue with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, but it will also be useful if you're taking some water, things like that, and you want to use some ND filters to get nice smooth motion inside of those things. So that's definitely one downside from these time-lapse modes, because you just don't get as much control as you would if you were using a bigger camera. I can't think of a better spot than where we are right now to talk about one of the most important things on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and this is the phenomenal image quality. It wouldn't be useful to have all the other cool features if you couldn't get great video out of it. In some cases, I think it rivals the video I get on my Sony a7 IV, which is very impressive. There's a lot of details in the highlights, in the shadows, and everything in between, and it can actually record true HLG or high dynamic range images. I prefer shooting most of my stuff in D-Log because it allows me a little bit more control afterwards to get the colors I want exactly when doing my post-processing. If you're using the normal mode, you can actually get really nice looking colors and the image is sharp enough but not too sharp. But both of these things are actually customizable afterwards if you need. The one sensor paired with the f2.0 lens actually gives nice depth of field. It's not as much as what you would get on a bigger camera like my Sony camera, and you don't get the option to change the lens to get something that might be better for this case. But in most cases, I think it gives enough depth of field when you're vlogging, and it's not too much depth of field where it would cause issues when you're traveling or you're filming your family or things like that. So overall, I just think it's a really well balanced camera for most of the situations when it comes down to image quality. This is a little vlogging test using the normal picture profile. So this looks like if you're not using D-Log, you're not doing your own color correction afterwards. Based on my previous test, it looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit over saturated and a little bit over sharpening, but overall, it's a really solid image coming out of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 when using the normal color profile. Talking of the fixed lens, there's actually an option with the DJI Creator Combo Kit if you want to get some wider shots. This can be an issue if you're taking something really close, but for this, all you have to do is use this little magnetic mount that goes on the camera, and this is going to give a wider field of view. I think it's equivalent to about 15 to 16 millimeters. So if you put it now on, it's going to be much wider, and now if I walk out, we're going to see a lot more of the scene. If I come back here, you can just remove it, and you're going to see this is without. This is with it. It's so easy to use and really great. I'm a little bit scared of using it when skiing or things like that because I had some bad experiences in the past where the magnets were not strong enough to hold fully, but because the camera is a little bit bigger, I think they put stronger magnets inside of it. So I'm actually going to give it a try right after this to see if it works when I'm using it in gimbal mode while I'm skiing down the slopes. In my opinion, one of the most unique features on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is called Active Track. If you double tap on the screen on the camera or draw a rectangle on the phone, it's going to start tracking right away the subject. It doesn't have to be a person, it can be anybody else. This is very useful in a case like right here where I'm filming a video and using my sister as a tripod while I'm moving around. But this could also be very useful in other scenarios. For example, I love shooting some hyperlapses with that where I turn around objects and can create these cool movements with the camera. Another time where Active Track is very useful is whenever I'm vlogging. It can track my face and make sure it's always centered inside of the shot, and this is very useful especially in scenarios like right now when I'm skiing, where it could be hard for me to keep the camera centered on my face when I have to look around and make sure that when I'm skiing I'm being safe while recording with the camera. And it's a really useful feature that's unique to DJI Osmo Pocket 3 because it only works if you have a gimbal on the camera. There are some downsides. The main one is that it only works in the main video mode, but apart from that, it works most of the times and even works sometimes now if you pass in front of objects and disappear, which is really, really good. Now let's talk about one thing that's definitely not as good on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and this is its photo capabilities. You can take some photos, but they're not necessarily the best ones. They're around 9 megapixel. Yes, you can take some raw pictures, but they don't have all the processing that your phone is going to do or the better lens and optics that a bigger camera is going to have. So overall, I don't really use it at all to take some pictures. There's one exception that I found in this trip, and it's actually using the panorama mode. It's actually pretty cool because you click one button, then it takes 4 pictures and creates a 180 180-degree panorama for you. So it's super simple, outputs a picture and also saves the raw files if you want to edit them afterwards. So that can be pretty useful. But overall, if you want to take some pictures, I would just use your cell phone or use a better camera if you really want to get some good photos. The reason I can really rely on DJI Osmo Pocket, it's all its pro features it has. We already talked about the 10-bit D-Log, a profile, and also HLG profiles that allow you to get more information inside of your shots, but then there's all kinds of other pro settings that are available. So for example, you have full manual control on your camera, so you can set the shutter speed, the ISO. There's even some ISO range that you can use, so you can set a minimum, maximum if you want to have a range, but still leave the camera decide which one is the best depending on the situation. There's also some settings for sharpening and noise reduction. Not all cameras have these, so it's really nice to be able to control that and get exactly what you want. If you dive inside of the settings, there's even some more settings. You can decide if the gimbal opens in the back, in the front, what happens when you turn the screen, does it close the camera? So you can pretty much customize everything you want inside of it. There's also a mode to use this as a webcam, but you can also record at the same time as you're filming with the webcam to make sure you can get a recording, which again is a pro feature that most cameras, even more expensive ones, don't have. Another thing I really like about the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is its build quality. It's bigger and it's heavier than the previous versions, but it also means that it feels sturdier in the hand and has a lot more built-in functionalities inside of it. It also doesn't have some issues like the older models where it would freeze during the winter and the autofocus would just stop working or would overheat really easily. So most of these issues being fixed with the bigger size of this DJI Osmo Pocket. It's also nice to see that even if I had chocolate on it, I could clean it off and the gimbal motors are still working perfectly fine. And then I'm pretty rough with my equipment, so this is very important for me. They can resist all these types of conditions. Another neat little thing is actually when you close it, it holds better in place so the lens doesn't turn around and get scratched when you put it in and out of your pocket. The only little thing that might be an issue is a rotating screen. I know some people had issues already with it. I haven't had any issues yet. Even in freezing cold, it's still working perfectly fine. So up to now, I can't say that I had any issues with it. I was reviewing some content on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and realized I forgot to talk about one of the best improvements on this camera, and this is the really good playback options. So the bigger screens allow to see if you have a good composition, if the focus is right and things like that, but also the brighter screen allows to see all the details even in very bright light. But something that's even better is the much better audio. I don't know why, but most cameras have really low audio and it makes it really hard to hear if what you were saying was good or not. This is especially useful when you're vlogging. In this case, it has a really loud speaker, so you can really make sure that your audio was right when you filmed it, and you can remove it right away on the camera without having to use the app, which is really good because that annoyed me so much on the old cameras where you had to use an app to check everything. If you're wondering where's the part about Chamonix inside of this video, I was actually faster to film my full in-depth review of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. So instead I'm going to film a video comparing the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and my Pixel 6 Pro inside of Chamonix. So stay tuned for that one. I'm also going to have a full vlog about the whole trip, so you can also see all the footage that I filmed using the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 inside of that vlog that's coming up soon. Now I want to answer the question that I asked at the beginning. Is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 the best camera for vlogging, family content, and also travel videos in 2024? Well, the answer is yes for most people and no for others. I think that beginners, intermediates, and even advanced filmmakers can all find a use for this camera. This is proven by The Verge that used it inside of their video when they were filming Barack Obama. They didn't only use it, but it was part of their kit, so it's still a very versatile tool. But like any tool inside of photography and filmmaking, it's going to be good for some people and not for others. You have to decide if it's a good tool for your use cases. But I think there's something much more important that most people don't talk about, and it's the DJI Osmo Pocket is a fun camera to use. I bought so many pieces of gear for photography and filmmaking that were the best technical pieces of gear, but I never use them because I just leave them on my shelf because they're not fun to use, they're hard to use, they take too much time to set up, or anything like that. DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is not like that. It's a very easy camera to use. It produces good results. It works pretty much flawlessly all the time. So that's why I can highly recommend it for anybody that wants a good vlogging camera, a good travel video camera, a good camera to film their family and friends, or just overall a good camera that can go inside of your pocket. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by hitting the like button down below, and definitely subscribe for more content on the DJI Osmo Pocket Free, and also more content on photography and filmmaking. See you in the next one.